That's kind of what I'd like to talk about today.
Listen, man, problems are here for us. And there's not a problem that's going to keep me down. My spirit's too strong.
So I try to be as honest and genuine at all times. I don't want to have any shame in anything that I do.
It makes me even more proud of who I am now. I know my mind is powerful. All of our minds are powerful. If I can learn to stop thinking other people's thoughts, at that time it was Mike Posner's career is over. He's a one-hit wonder. Those were other people's thoughts. And I started to think them for a little while. And I go, what if I'm going to choose my thoughts. I'm all about understanding. If there's something I'm doing that's not productive, let's understand it, but let's change it. I don't want to just go, I have depression, I have OCD, I sometimes do this thing. I said, who gives a fuck? Change it. You can't just understand an old habit, you got to put a new habit in. So like a lot of my life I was depressed, but I would never say I am that. I say I am joy. And it's changed my identity and it's changed my life. That old habit of self-pity and depression, they're all there for me. They're like, hey, you want to play with us today? And it's deciding every day, no, I'm going to be who I decided I am. So your mind works perfect. They're not designed to make us happy or calm, right? They're designed to keep us alive.
Super appreciate being out here. It's beautiful out here. For people who are unaware, I'm sure everyone knows, and it's in the title, it says, we're at Mike Posner's house. Maybe I'll even call it at Mike Posner's house. Who knows? And no location given.
Thank you.
I'll try.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. But for people who don't know, you were a kind of this huge pop music sensation. And then you climbed Mount Everest. And then you walked across the country. And then now you are on your new transformative version of yourself. I think the most interesting thing has been seeing the transformation of what you've done, who you've become, and where you started to where you are now. So if we can, that's kind of what I'd like to talk about today.
Yeah, absolutely. There's this parable. It might be apocryphal, but there's this story that a journalist went up to Gandhi on a train that he was on. And they said, Mahatma Ji, can I get a quote for my article? And, hey.
What's up, Johnny?
Oh, he's your buddy?
Yeah, that's my buddy.
What's up, man?
Are you guys recording?
Yeah,
we just started. But
no worries. So he wrote, the journalist asked him, can I have a quote for my article? I read an article about you. And he wrote down, my life is my message. He said, I want a message. My life is my message. So at the end of the day, I'm an artist, right? I make albums, I write books. But the best art piece, the most beautiful art piece is your life. And so I made a lot of mistakes in my 20s, and continue to make mistakes. But I'm almost happy. I'm almost proud that I was so fucked up in so many ways. Because it makes me even more proud of who I am now. And I know that who I am now, I'm proud of, and I know what it took to become who I am now.
I mean, starting where you started at like the pinnacle. I mean, I told my wife that, oh yeah, I'm gonna go sit down with Mike Posner, and I'm like, can you remember this song? And she's like, oh my gosh, I took a pill in Ibiza like a million times. I'm like, I've heard it all summer long, and she got really excited. I'm sure you get that a lot. And you've told the story of actually it was a sad song, but really became like this club banger.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that even like, seeing the sadness of a song become so, like how many people maybe watching were like, man, I took a pill in Ibiza because Mike Posner said he took a pill in Ibiza, right. Which is not the point, but somehow it became what happened.
Well, I don't know if more people actually took pills because of my song, but probably more than one did. Yeah,
Maybe leave a comment and let me know if you're one of those people.
But yeah, but be more nuanced in your listenership. That's on you. It was surreal. Yeah, the song it's in the chorus. It's a sad song.
Yeah.
All I know are sad songs. That's the chorus of the song. And it was quite surreal to watch this song that I wrote on my guitar, and then I recorded an acoustic version of it. And then these really talented producers, Sieb in Norway, remixed my song. They sped it up and made all new music to it and made a club version of it. And then to watch it just explode in popularity is surreal. And also, don't forget, there's a lyric in the second verse. It goes, I'm just a singer who already blew his shot. I get along with old timers because my name's a reminder of a pop song people forgot. And I was talking about my first hit, which I thought was going to be my only hit, right? So ironically, this song that was about my career being over, me blowing my shot, gave me another shot. So I was just watching like, this is impossibly ironic and comical. Yeah.
I think about that a lot because when I started online, I haven't been online like very long. And it kind of started off really hot, really fast, early. So I think about it all the time is...
Why is that, you think?
Who knows? Who knows why people resonate with somebody or people decide to listen to somebody? I mean, part of me thinks that I was given purpose and that it's supposed to happen. And therefore, I try to be as careful and mindful about that as I humanly can, because I don't feel like... I think opportunities are given for a reason. And I think it's what you do with the opportunity for the greater benefit of others that really will reflect, well, did you do what was right? So I try to be as honest and genuine at all times. I don't want to have any shame in anything that I do. And it's not easy because you get an opportunity, and what if that's your only one? You know, and you've kind of felt that, which is, I had my opportunity. What if I don't get it again? How'd you fight through that? And what was kind of your mental mindset in coming to that decision of, oh, wow, it can happen again?
While you were speaking, I was hearing Eminem Lose Yourself play in my mind. You only get one shot to not miss. So, listen, man, problems are here for us. I really believe that. And there's not a problem that's going to keep me down. My spirit's too strong. Period. And now I've been overcome enough problems to know that about myself. And this is some of the reasons why we do hard things. You know, I think we train for the hard things that we don't choose, you know, because life can just throw hard things at you by choosing to do hard things. So I just don't give up. No matter what. No matter what. And I don't know if I was born with that or what, but I know my mind is powerful. All of our minds are powerful. So if I can learn to stop thinking other people's thoughts, you know, at that time it was Mike Posner's career is over. He's a one-hit wonder. Remember Mike Posner, this whole thing. Those were other people's thoughts. And I started to think them for a little while. And I go, you know, what if I'm going to choose my thoughts. And I started to write in a notebook. I'm going to win the Grammy for Album of the Year. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And everything I've ever dreamed of has happened. God has given me every single thing I've ever asked for.
Do you think that the importance of, you said you write it down. How important is that to you versus kind of just saying it verbally? I'm a huge proponent of, if you say your goals and your aspirations out loud, it's almost like putting it out into the world.
Yeah.
And it makes it almost a reality.
Yeah.
I'm not as...
It's a version of reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I mean, and then some people write it down. There's various ways to do it. For you, what do you think works the best?
I'm all about this. So I love talking about this stuff. There's got to be emotion involved with it. So you do what works for you. For me, I write them, I say them, and I use music, and I use my body. So even saying them out loud, my favorite incantation I'm on Instagram all the time saying this, right? Because I say it every day, every single day. I could say, I am joy. I am faith. I am love. I'm just saying it. Let me feel it. I am joy. I am faith. I am love. Or I can get my body in, right? So now I'm using my focus that second time. I use my words. That's my intention. And now, it's like, I am joy. I am faith. I am love. I am unstoppable. I'm Mike Posner. See, I hear, I feel, I know my destiny is to be a leader who unlocks the magic potential in myself and many others. Life is happening for me, not to me. This is just the beginning. I am joy, I'm faith, I'm love. How can I love myself even more? I deserve the best and I accept it now. I feel God's energy moving in my life. Avalanches of abundance are moving towards me. I'm a magnet for abundance and great people. I mean, this is the emotion. So for me, having the best way, the easiest way for me to get the emotion in is to involve my body. So that's what. So I'll do these like I just did, or I do them while I'm running, or I do them while I'm in the ice bath because the body's physiologically doing some pretty intense stuff. But if you can combine these words of affirmation with a physical change, that is very powerful. That is very powerful. And the writing it is great too. I still do that. Sometimes I write these things. Last night I was writing, I am joy, I am faith, I am love. Because the mind creeps in with negative thoughts, with worries, with anxieties, and stuff happens in life. And so it's not enough to just go to therapy and diagnose all the pathological ways we think. We have to then replace those with something new. Okay? So that's it. You know, and I have a therapist, I have a coach, you know, so I'm all about understanding. If there's something I'm doing that's not productive, let's understand it, but let's change it. I don't want to just go, I have depression, I have OCD, I sometimes do this thing. I said, who gives a fuck? Change it. You know it. That's the starting point. It's great that you went in and you understood something that was a unproductive habit. But you're an adult now, so it's like you got the power to do something different. And a lot of things that we think are unchangeable diseases are not. They're just ingrained habits. Yeah. And you got to start to. You can't just understand an old habit. You got to put a new habit in. So like a lot of my life, I was depressed, but I would never say I am that. I say I am joy, and it's changed my identity. And it's changed my life. And I'm not depressed anymore. I might have a depressed moment. I might have a depressed thought. I might even have a depressed hour. But me, my identity is I am joy, I am faith, I am love. I'm a leader who unlocks the magic potential in myself and others. That's it.
I love that. I love that because you're a pretty, sitting here, rather soft-spoken, smooth voice kind of guy. And then when you want to manifest the ability to like ramp up and you bring this energy out into the world and you kind of project it out there, it's the transformation of just seeing that in the 3 minutes. It's crazy. Is that intentional? Do you feel like you feel that moving on your own, or is that something that you have to push and force out?
Well, sometimes you got to push it out. You know, sometimes I wake up, all those old habits, even after the walk across America, the Grammys, climbing Everest, all the meditation retreats, everything, all the old habits are still there. And sometimes they're more present than others. If you don't get a good night's sleep or something stressful, right? So I wake up, it's like that old habit of self-pity and depression, they're all there for me. They're like, hey, you want to play with us today? And it's deciding every day, no, I'm going to be who I decided I am. The real me, the truth. So it's about we have control of our states. And Krishnaji or Preetnaji, they teach there's only two states, right? There's suffering states and there's beautiful states. But let's just talk about beautiful states. There's all different types of beautiful states. There's serene, there's energetic, there's joyful, there's, there's all different types of states. So you want to be in the one that's appropriate for what life is asking of you in that moment, right? And so, yeah, I can turn it up, right? But a couple weeks ago, I did a hospice call, a house call for a family who had a daughter who's 2 years old, and she's on her way to see the Lord. I'm not coming in there like that. It's quiet. I'm coming. I'm listening first. I'm gonna listen for hours. And so that is also a beautiful state. It's a calm state. It's a receptive state. But it was more appropriate for that moment. My favorite story about this is Jason knows this story. Is when I made it to the summit of Mount Everest. Right, it's one of the best moments of my life. I trained for a year and a half full time. I climbed 71 mountains to get ready for it. I put my life, everything on the line. Reoriented my entire life, my business, everything to get to that moment. And I got there, and I got to the top of the world, and I keeled over, and I wept because of how hard it was. And I looked out, and there's this gargantuan pyramidal shadow of Mount Everest stretching out hundreds of miles into Tibet and beyond. I was overcome with gratitude. And then some motherfucker wants me to move so he can stand there and have his moment. And the dude starts tapping me.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, whatever. But mind you, we're still on Mount Everest, right? There's 10,000 foot drops, right? He starts to tap me harder like this.
Yeah.
I'm weeping on this whole thing. He does it one more time, and it's beyond my comfort level of a man touching my body on this precarious place. So I'm weeping. I'm having this moment. I look at him. I go, "Don't put your fucking hands on me again." He didn't put his hands on me again. And then I went back to having my beautiful moment, right? But I had to shut that down.
Yeah.
I can't have a person physically putting force on my body in a dangerous place. Yeah. And then I can have my beautiful moment. And it wasn't a time to go, hey, I love nonviolent communication. It wasn't a time for that. Yeah. Hi, I'm observing you putting your hands on me in this moment. No, it's don't put your fucking hands on me again. So there's even a place for anger, right? When you're in danger, your body's in danger, or your family's in danger. Anger is appropriate. Right? Rage might be appropriate. It's not that often where those are appropriate, right? So it's about being in the state that is most appropriate for what life is asking of us.
Were you mad at him for ruining your moment? Or do you feel like he ruined your moment? Or do you think that adds to the story?
No, he didn't ruin my moment at all. It was fine. I just had to shut it down. And I don't need to be up there all day either. It's like I got to get down also. So I get it,
How long were you standing there before?
I'm not mad at him now.
Before you had your altercation at the top of... I don't know how many people have had an altercation on the top of Mount Everest at the peak, by the way. Maybe the only one. Or is this common? I don't know.
I don't know either. I haven't heard any other altercation. I'm sure there has been on busy days and stuff, where the weather's really good. So I'm sure there has been. Probably worse ones.
You've kind of seen the spectrum of society. You've seen the spectrum of how a person can change from kind of fame to depression to finding various forms of spirituality, various forms of kind of emotional healing. You've been through all of it. And now you're in this kind of, it seems like this faith part, this faith kick. Is that rather new? Is that something that's always been brewing? Where are you there? And how'd you get there?
Yeah. Well, the spiritual part of my life, I didn't grow up with the spiritual part of my life. My father was Jewish. My mother grew up Catholic. She's since converted to Judaism. And my mother believes in God, but she had a really poor experience growing up Catholic. And she decided she was going to raise her children basically so they could decide on their own when they were 18. So we went to a Sunday school where we learned Jewish traditions and language and music, but we didn't really have a faith because my mom just didn't want to force that on us. So as a result, I really, there was no like sit down when I turned 18 either. So it was kind of just, she released me into the wild.
What'd you choose? Where'd you decide?
So
have
that's
that
the
moment.
funny thing is I guess I didn't choose anything.
Yeah.
Because I turned 18, 19, and I went into my early adult life. And I guess I just I didn't believe in anything. I didn't have a higher power. I believed in what I could see and touch and feel. And I had sort of a cynical, complaining frame of mind that isn't entirely unique in Jewish communities. There's like an archetype of like a complainer Jewish man. And not saying all Jewish people are like that, but there's that archetype. And I sort of was becoming a young version of that. Where I just kind of saw the worst in everybody, would complain, kind of make cynical, sarcastic jokes a lot. But this is really how I thought. And the spiritual part of my life started with Big Sean, the rapper Big Sean. I saw him one day and he was like literally glowing like an angel.
Really?
Yeah, I went to the studio and he was on fire. His business started to blow up.
Yeah.
His life did a 180. So I was watching from afar. His business wasn't doing great. And then it was rocket ship. And then I went to the studio with him and he was glowing. Just being around him, you felt his energy. And so I go, what the heck are you doing, dude? Like, what's going on? Clearly, you've changed. He gave me 2 spiritual books. The Alchemist, which is an incredible book. Have you read The Alchemist? You got to read The Alchemist. How old's your daughter?
2.
Okay, not yet.
Yeah.
But The Alchemist is one of these books that probably when she's 8, if she's like you, she's going to be smart. So maybe 8. But for sure by 12, she can read and love that book. But at the same time, a 36-year-old can read it. And it's incredible. And it's a fiction book. But it sort of changes the way you see your real life. So that was my portal. And then I read a second book Sean gave me called Ask and It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks. Their introduction to that book was by Dr. Wayne Dyer. And there was a sentence in that introduction and it said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That kind of hit me. I remember reading that sentence. Whoa. So you're saying I don't have to look at everything through this cynical, sarcastic mindset that has negative tinges towards it. I could change. It was mind-blowing to me. Maybe that's kind of basic to you, but at the time for me, it was mind-blowing. And since then, my faith is the most important part of my life. Especially in challenges. I ask God or life. I use those words interchangeably. So life with a capital L. I ask, what am I supposed to learn from this? And there's always an answer. And I know I'm not alone. I'm a wise person. I'm a fun person. I'm a smart person. I'm a clever person. But I always say I never created a planet. I never made a heartbeat. I never grew my hair follicles. I never made a sunrise or a sunset. So life did that. Life did all those things and way more. So I do my best. And I struggle with this, right? I do my best. I struggle not to do more than my best. So I do my best, and then if I'm doing a good job, I get out of the way. I say I'm not in control. I'm in love. And when you have that kind of space where you're not trying to move every single tiny puzzle piece on my chessboard, more miracles can happen, and God can fill in the blanks for me. So that's it. I try to give control of my life over to God and to be used by God. And go, you know, what am I here for? How can I make the most impact? And also honor myself, because we're creations of God too. So if I really love God and I love other humans, God made me too. So gave me this body, so I should honor this. I should rest it. I should feed it the best food. And it's the only relationship that can give me total certainty. As much as I love my mother, my girlfriend, my sister, my best friends, they're all human. They're all flawed like I am, and their job isn't to look at me all day and ask what do I need, right? They have their own mission. None of those people can give me 100% certainty. They never can be there 100% for me 100% of the time, nor should they. But you can get that from faith, and it's the only relationship that can give it to you.
You said that this kind of interaction with Big Sean kind of spurred this spiritual awakening. When was that? And how long has this journey been going on?
That must have been 2011, 2012, around then. So 10, 12 years ago now. Yeah.
It feels like...
And there's so many permutations of it.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
it feels different now.
Yeah, when I started off, I was really into, these very new age stuff, learning about manifestation and the power of your mind. And then I got deeper into meditation. I learned transcendental meditation, which isn't a faith. You don't need to be religious to study that. But I started getting more into Hindu and Buddhist traditions. I guess I've been kind of a dilettante, trying a lot of different things. And recently, in the last year or two, I've attended a lot of church services, which was surreal for me because I never thought I'd be there. But I saw a YouTube video of this live song called "The Blessing." Okay. By Carrie Job, and it was at Elevation Worship. I think it's a church in North Carolina.
Yeah, Elevation
in your hood.
Church. Yeah, my side of town.
Yeah, and they tour, right? Yeah. But there's this video of Carrie Job, and actually, before I saw the video, I heard the song played at a Tony Robbins event. And I said, that song. I asked the guy that runs the music, cello. I said, what was that song that was saying, "He is for you, He is for you, He is for you. May His favor be upon you and your children and their children and their children for 1,000 generations." What was that song? He goes, it's the Carrie Job song, "The Blessing." So I watched this YouTube video, and I couldn't stop watching it. I was watching this, and it's 12 minutes long, I think. And I was watching it multiple times a day, sometimes 4 times a day. It's a full hour a day of The Blessing, right? Because I would feel the Spirit of God when I heard this song. It makes sense. I'm a musician, so. And then I said, well, I want to be in rooms like that. So I started going to church in LA, and I love it. I don't go every week, and I struggle with the exclusivity part. So I've never gotten baptized because I struggle with when they say Christ is the only way to God. And Christ is a manifestation of God. Christ is God. And I don't know if I believe that. I know Christ is the way to God, right? I see it and I feel it, but I don't know if it's the only way. And so that's the only thing that stops me from getting baptized. And
don't fall in.
Don't fall in, But yeah, man, that's been some of my journey.
Do you think that has to do with...
At the end of the day, I think it's really personal, right? You want to have a relationship directly with God. And a lot of these problems that probably even I'm talking about, they're not God problems, they're church problems. Yeah. Because the church is made of people. Yeah. And just like I said before, people are flawed. So every church, every Buddhist monastery, all those things, they all have human flaw in them. So there is, I don't know that Bible passage, but some where 2 or more gather in my name, I'm present or something. messing up some of the work. But that is true.
Hmm.
You know, even if I just get together one friend and we pray together, or we meditate together, or we do incantations, you know, and we talk to God, there's something exponential about that from doing it on your own. So when I go to church and those people are singing the songs and they're gathered in the context of, hey, we're going to open up our channel to Spirit, is really strong. So I think you can only do so much on your own. So there's beauty in having some kind of community around faith.
Do you think
Sorry for the rant.
No, of course. That's what we're here for. Do you think that has to do with maybe your Jewish upraising versus kind of your shift towards Christianity, which is obviously similar but very different?
Yeah.
Do you think that's maybe why you're having a difficulty bridging that gap?
Probably. I don't think it's the major thing. The major thing I think is what I just articulated, the exclusivity part. But yeah, I guess if I was raised Christian, I wouldn't think as much about that. I'm not sure. I can't A/B it, test it.
Yeah.
And there's just beautiful like Yom Kippur is coming up, right? And I don't really observe that many Jewish traditions, but I plan to observe Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is a day, is next week. I think it's Friday or Saturday. And you go a full day, starting at sundown to the next sundown, and nothing goes in your mouth. No food and no water. And you atone. So to make space for your next year, you look at everything screwed up this year. You ask God for forgiveness. Maybe you make some of the things right. And then you're clear to have this year. It's a freaking beautiful tradition. So I guess if I wouldn't want to not be able to do something like that because I've committed to something else. You know, because there's beauty to that. And I there's no doubt that, you know, a tradition like that, when observed with intention and purity of heart, would bring one closer to God, you know. So it's just really exclusivity trips me.
Yeah, I've struggled with that myself. Is that there are people that from various religions that believe with all their heart that what they believe is true, and it's not a question of they live the lifestyle, whatever it is that you believe. And it's really hard for me to think that, okay, that person who actively believes in their religion is going to hell because they don't believe this exact. Yeah. It's really hard to deal with.
Yeah.
At the same time, part of me is like, okay, well, that's why one is right, because it's not supposed to be easy. Or is it supposed to be easy? I get stuck in this religious theology loop all the time, you know, because I want to do what's best, and I want to encourage people to do what's better, just not only for themselves, but for their soul at the same time. Like, I don't know if I'm the guy to be the evangelist, because I believe what I believe, but like, how do I believe it strong enough where I'm willing to change other people's minds to believe what I believe? And maybe that's the faith part. I don't know. You know, I want to do what I think is right. It's not easy to know what's right, especially for others.
Yeah. I think that, there really is a conflict to know when give other humans the grace of and the autonomy to make their own decisions, and say, hey, like, you know, maybe you invite someone to a church service, but you're not like, you need to do this, right? Versus, what if you saw someone really struggling and you need to be more forceful? Man, you need to do this. Where's that line? I don't have the answer either. You know, I'm thinking right now it's not an answer to your question or your conundrum, but I'm thinking about AA. It's this surreal thing where after all these years, still, the most efficacious treatment for alcoholism is faith. Right? It's pretty wild, right? And not a specific brand of faith or version of faith, but some version of a higher power. Can't go through 12 steps without that. And they haven't made a pill or a other treatment program or something that's more efficient than that. So there's something powerful about it, you know.
I read a story the other day, just actually yesterday, and there was a guy who owned a bunch of Dunkin' Donuts franchises, a bunch of them. And one day he decided that he's going to play Christian music in all of his stores. His business doubled because the people were happier, the employees were happier, and they just enjoyed having a more positive vibe around them.
Yeah.
And increased his entire business by 2x.
That's amazing.
By just making that one small change.
That's amazing, man.
And I'm like, there's something to that also. Like the power of just surrounding yourself in it.
Living it and worship, right? If you don't believe, then that music is Christian music. And if you believe, it's worship music, right? It's so powerful, and just being in it every day. I have a friend, Steve Weatherford, and beautiful man and solid in his Christian faith. And he walks around, he has a little speaker he clips to his shirt. This dude, he's just playing worship music all day long, dude. And he doesn't care. He'll just walk behind you and is playing. He's like, hey, man, what's up? Nice to talk. Like, it's not even there. Like, he doesn't.
He walks around the soundtrack.
He doesn't address it. He's like, hey, man, how's it going? It's just in the background. Because he wants to stay in the faith.
Yeah.
All day. I think that's why he does it. And yeah, music is one of the ways we can do that.
Because especially recently, I'm very cognizant of the music that I listen to. There used to be a time where I listened to anything because it was cool or it was popular or it sounded like fun. And as you kind of get a little bit older and you have kids around, I'm like, God, do I really want that song playing in the car while my daughter's in the car? I think about that all the time. And I got tired of trying to figure out, okay, is it a good song, is it a bad song, is it a good song, is it a bad song? No, I don't want you to listen to this. I don't like that's not a good message. Listen to this. Because like music, you like without realizing it, it's penetrating your brain. So now I just play like worship songs in the car only because I don't have to think about it anymore. Yeah. I can just keep it on loop and I don't have to worry about my kid. Either that or my daughter likes Hop Little Bunny. So it's one of those two.
I know that one.
Right? But the music is really important to your life. It changes how you feel. It changes how you think. It has so much impact. And we are flooded with negative music. What do you think your journey music is? Because your most recent song, Beautiful Day, I love that song, by the way. Thank you. It's amazing. It's such a good way to start the day.
Yeah, it's a great morning song.
It's a phenomenal morning song.
It's a great morning song.
If you could have an alarm set to that song, that's the best way to wake up.
Right.
You know, where do you think your evolution in your music is? Kind of being more cognizant of these things. Maybe you didn't think about as much when you were younger. So
I think it's nuanced, but you're spot on. Music is powerful. And the person who's creating the music, and often it's more than one person in the studios, sometimes multiple people. That creation is a crystallization of their emotional state at the time of creation. In some traditions, they believe that about human beings, as a side note. You know, the state of the mother and the father when they conceive has they believe has a lot to do with how that child turns out in their disposition. Interesting to think about. But going back to the music, because this is a different kind of baby.
Well, now,
right?
now I'm thinking of my parents. I'm like, damn, what were they thinking?
They're pissed off at each other.
Yeah. Like, what were they thinking when I'm like, oh, I didn't want to go there.
Right.
Thanks.
That's what I'm here for. So this emotion gets crystallized. And for me, I want to ask what you think about this, but sometimes I'm writing and there's all this anger or this sadness or this guilt that comes out, and it flows out of my soul into my pen, into my microphone, into my song. And sometimes those songs go out to the world and they're not happy. They're not Beautiful Day. But someone else who's feeling sadness or guilt may hear the song and realize they're not alone. They're not the only person to feel this. At the same time, someone who's in a really great emotional state might hear that song and it might bring them down. So I wouldn't go so far as to say all music should be happy. And I've made a lot of very honest, very authentic music about difficult things. Death, depression, and, low points in career. I tell the truth. And also as a listener, and I want to kick this over to you and hear your thoughts. As a listener, occasionally, but a lot in hard times, if I'm in grief or something and there's anger there, I will use rageful music. I have a playlist on my phone. It's called Back the Fuck Up. And it's D12 fight music, is Rage Against the Machine, is System of a Down, Chop Suey. And I'll go and I'll put it on and I'll just wail on a pillow and let all this anger out. Because anger unexpressed turns to sadness, turns to depression. So I use that. That's not every day, but it's every once in a while. So I want to get your thoughts on that, man. What do you think about some, I guess, sad songs, connecting with people, making them feel less alone, and anger playlists, and then a third one. There's also I would call it uninspired faith music. So someone can make a song that says all the right words about God and they're quoting scripture, but if they're in the emotional state of, hey, I'm actually trying to make some money.
Hoping to hit a Christian banger.
Right. Right.
Which is the thing.
Because there is a lot of money in Christian music. And all this stuff, music. Right? If they're making that kind of like the parents, if they're birthing this song from that standpoint, but they're saying all the right words, I think that frequency is crystallized in that song. So,
I think it's interesting because I understand the idea that if you are sad, and sometimes it feels good to know that you're not alone. I think the problem with that potentially is that because you almost feel like it's okay to feel sad then, because there are other people that are sad. I have the music to help me cope with being sad, and you almost enjoy being in that sadness. So you create a safe space for sadness, and they almost don't want to leave it, because most people join community because they find comfort there. And by creating a comfortable area, there's no incentive to leave. I think that we've had a place in society where we encouraged people to be really sad. And although I understand why that was, I don't know if that was necessarily the best. Because of that, now we are at depression at all-time highs. So did that actually help by helping people feel comfortable there? What if all music was hopeful? Then would society become more hopeful? I don't know the answer to that.
Or is it flipped? If society was more hopeful, there'd be more hopeful music.
That's true too.
Yeah. That was always the NWA argument, right? And they try to outlaw that music or at least censor it or sequester it. And then remember they started the parental advisory labels. And those guys said, if you want us to not make violent music, can you fix our neighborhoods so they aren't violent? If If you want us not to talk about drugs and violence, get the drugs and violence out of our neighborhood. This is what it's like out here. You want us to live here in the hood and then write Kumbaya? Nah, we don't live in Kumbaya. So I don't know the answer.
I mean, I don't know if there is a concrete answer. I do know that a lot of people wait and hope.
I'm in agreement with that part of what you said.
Yeah, I mean, we hope that the establishments or authorities will fix something, and therefore we can react to it. And I think that model actually is incorrect, because we've seen over the last many years, over the last 10, 15, 20 years, that the people at the top of society actually don't fix anyone's problems.
Yeah.
So hoping and waiting for them to fix it so that our lives can improve actually it's false.
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing, maybe.
No clue. I think we as a society need to almost self-correct and self-fix ourselves. And then the people in charge of our society will force them to react to how society has changed. And I think that's where music and culture comes in, because music has the ability to drive the conversation and drive the change. And if, for example, if every music and I'm not saying it's possible, but what if everything you heard on the radio or on Spotify or whatever format you use was only positive? What would happen? Maybe people would start having more positive thoughts. And then you would see the corruption, you would see the lies more clearly, because you only are surrounded by truth. But giving people an avenue to have falsehoods and have anger and sadness and whatever else, maybe it helps people keep people, like within the system. I don't know the answer. I mean, it's all theoretical, really, because it's not possible.
Of course it is, right? So what I'm hearing, and I think it's worth distinguishing. There's really two kinds of music, or art, we could really call it. It's descriptive art. We're talking about what is, and that can be beautiful. You can do it articulate and honest and nuanced. Even genius level description of what is. Or you can create so that's descriptive art. Or there's visionary art, where you can create something that doesn't exist, right? Like we talked about earlier with the affirmations and the incantation. Exactly. So that's one. Then secondly, my only counter argument, or not counter argument, the thought, right? People started playing football, I believe, to substitute for war, right? Instead of having real fights, they play football games. Or I think that has something to do with the origin of the Olympics too. It's like, instead of going to war with these countries, we're going to compete with them in this other way. And so when you described your utopian version of Spotify, I thought, yeah, maybe it would turn out like he's describing, or maybe
it's worse.
Maybe it's worse, and people aren't expressing, because these are no person goes through life without getting angry or sad, right? That's part of being human. Jesus wept, right? Yes. So if Jesus wept, I'm gonna weep, probably a lot in my life. So it's not ungodly to feel grief.
Correct.
So if you take away one's or artist's ability to express grief in what I would call often, not always, often a healthy way, which is artistic expression. It's not killing yourself. It's not hurting someone else. It's not taking drugs. It's creating a piece of art. Then it could get worse. I know, let me put it like this. I know if I wasn't allowed to box or work out anymore, some anger might start coming out sideways.
You need like that release valve.
But I also agree with with what you're saying at the same time. Because every morning I'm listening to uplifting songs every morning. As I do my thing. And like I said, I use the Back the Fuck Up playlist sparingly when needed.
When needed. If necessary.
Yeah,
I mean, at least for me, I know that it's been a conscious choice that I want to surround myself with as much positivity as possible. And I think that's maybe a little hypocritical because I do a lot of stuff about conspiracies, anti-establishment, like, you know, the government hates you and they're just screwing you. I do a lot of that. And part of me is like, man, maybe I'm normalizing the idea that that's okay. Because if you talk about it over and over again, then people are like, okay, like that's just how life is.
How does it feel when you are researching those kind of topics?
I hate politics so much. I hate the establishment so much because I feel like there are so many ways that they can help you, and for their own benefit, their own selfish greed, their own pursuit of power and control, that they take advantage of the population. And I think that's horrible. I think people need to be more aware of what the world is like, because I think we're at the precipice of revival in this country. I really do believe that.
I think so too.
I think revival takes three components to revival. So first is intellectual. You have to know cognitively that something is wrong in society, that they're screwing you, they're screwing you. You just have to know in your brain. And the second part is emotional. You have to have an emotional connection to it. So I'm either mad, I'm angry, I'm sad, whatever it is, I can feel the injustice. And then once you hit 1 and 2, then the third is, okay, then what are you going to do about it? I think we're right in the between of number 2 and number 3, where people are starting to feel that something's not right. And people are starting to turn. Over the last year, the amount of people that have wanted to have conversations with me about faith is through the roof. And I'm not a faith-based podcast. I'm not one that's going like, oh yeah, read more Bible.
Yeah.
Just not what I typically do. But as I personally embrace it, without even talking about it, people start bringing it to me.
Yeah, you're attracting it.
The amount of people that DM me Bible verses on a regular basis, and I don't know if you feel it, it's gone up like exponentially. Out of nowhere, people like, Matt, I read this verse today, and I think it'd be good for you. And they'll send it to me. I don't even know who you are. And at first, I was like, this is weird. Afterward, like, that's amazing.
And sometimes they hit. Sometimes it's right what you need to hear, right?
It's exactly what I hear at the moment I need to hear it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I can feel that happening, you know, throughout all of society, all over the world. I can feel that, you know, so I find hope there. I think we're at that, again, at that precipice of people are waking up, that it's not just a left versus right or it's a political thing. Actually, we're in this war of good versus evil. And I think more people are going, I kind of want to be on the side of good.
Yeah, I hope you're right, man. I think so. I don't know if it, It's so surreal to zoom out that far and go, it is a struggle of good and evil being played out on this large scale. And also, for me, it's always hard to divorce what's happening in society from my experience with society. Because, you know, I care about faith, I care about health, I care about service, I care about fun, care about family, care about my girl. And so the people around me, tend to reflect that. But I don't, it's easy for me to go, oh man, there's a societal trend towards people caring more about that. Yeah. And it's like, no, just my community around. So it's always hard for me. That was a trip when I walked across America. Yeah. Because before I walked, I lived my whole life in cities or suburbs of cities. And you find out pretty quickly on that journey that cities are actually very small. They're very dense concentrations of the population. So there's millions of people in them. But spatially, they're small. Like you can walk across one in a day. And so I walked for over 180 days. I can't remember exactly how many days, but 6 months and 3 days. And 3 to 5 of those days were in cities or suburbs. The rest was all in the other spaces, which at first I started to call the in-betweens, and then I realized these aren't in-betweens. You know?
The cities are actually between.
Yeah, or not. You know, it's all just here, right? Yeah. It's all just here. And I found this is a different way of life, different I'm not saying better or worse, but time moved differently. People have children younger in those rural areas. They get married younger. Because there's less people, there's more human connection. You know, you would never walk by someone on a road in one of these small towns and not acknowledge them. But if you're in a big city, you walk by 1,000 people, and not because you're not going to say hi to every single person who walks by you in New York City. You know, it'd be insane. So it's different ways of life that sometimes we just have no concept of how other people are living.
When you walked for 6 months and 3 days, how'd you occupy your time?
Walking. No, at first I distracted myself a lot. That's the truth. So at first I was on my phone. It was actually embarrassing. So I was on my phone, I'm listening to stuff, and I was blabbering a lot with my buddies and my earphones in. And in Pennsylvania, I realized this is stupid. I'm walking across America, but I might as well be in West Hollywood on a couch because I'm just staring at this thing.
On a treadmill.
Yeah. So, like, this is stupid. I'm doing the coolest thing in my life, and I'm actually missing it. So then I said, I'm going to not look at my phone or use my phone the first 8 miles every day. Get up, and I do walking meditation as taught by Thich Nhat Hanh. And I sort of felt really proud of myself. And I walked from Pennsylvania to Colorado like that. And I met a guy named Stevie between La Junta and Walsenburg, Colorado, on Colorado 10. And Stevie was running across America the opposite direction. So we intersected. And Stevie said to me, he goes, so... he asked me the same question you just asked me. What do you do with your phone? I go, very proudly, I said, well, you'd be pleased to know I do not use my phone for the first 8 miles every day. And I practice walking meditation. And I said, what about you? And he goes, oh, I didn't bring headphones. He goes, I look at my phone if I'm lost or something. But other than that, I don't use the phone. I said, what? I go, how's that been for you? How's that been for you? He goes, the first month of my journey, because he started running in San Francisco, and I caught him in Colorado. So he was about 1,000 miles already in. 1,000 miles is a lot. A marathon is 26 miles. Yeah. This guy had run 1,000 miles. Yeah. He was running 40 miles a day. Right? He said the first month was the hardest month of my life because the voice in my head was just driving me nuts. But after that, something clicked, something shifted in me, and I found a peace that you cannot imagine. I'm doing the hardest thing in my life, but the inside me is calm, it's still, it's peaceful, and I've never felt that before in my life. I think it was 2 days later, I'm walking on the same road, Colorado 10, and I get bit by a rattlesnake. Sends me to the hospital. I called dispatch. I asked, am I going to die? And the voice on the end of the phone says, I don't know. And darkness started to come in from the edges of my awareness. I'm like fading out. I ended up in the ICU 3 days, in the hospital 5 days. And then I went home because I couldn't walk. I had a walker. And I went from walking 24 miles a day to I couldn't walk at all. So I go home, and then I started to get better, which part of me didn't want to get better. A, because I was getting a ton of attention for being hurt.
It feels good.
Yeah, before the Walk Across America, I was this pop star, and my whole life was about getting more famous. I walk across America to try to leave that way of living behind. I get bit by a snake, and the story gets picked up by the news and everything, and I'm getting more famous than I ever got from being hurt. So part of me wanted to stay hurt. Because it equated being hurt with getting fame and attention. So I had to create a vision of myself that was going to get me back on the road. So I said, I want to go back. And I got 1,000 more miles to walk. And I'm scared. And I don't want to because it hurts. And I almost get hit by a car every day. And there's snakes on the road. And it's hot. And my body felt horrible, walking across America. So I got to give myself a reason to want to go back other than just finishing, because I wasn't enough. It didn't excite me. So I said, when I go back, I'm going to go back like Stevie. I said, no masturbation, no phone, unless I need directions while I walk. And that's how I'll do my last out. And no more guests. Because I used to have people, I said fans could walk with me if they found me. But I didn't want them to get hurt.
Yeah.
So
because you had been through it.
No more masturbation, no phone, no fans, just me alone. And I went back and after a day, 2 days, a week, 2 weeks, really, he was right about a month. I started to experience what he was describing. This calm, this peace, and a clarity. Not saying everything went right, but if something was off, I knew that I'd address it. Everything was clear. So yeah, that was it. I couldn't remember what your question was.
Well, I'm thinking about
how'd you pass the time? That's what you asked me.
Dude.
Yeah.
Well, there's like this weird trend that's going on. I don't know if it's a weird trend of people that get on flights and long
saw
flights,
this,
and they sit there with no headphone, no movie, just stare.
I think it's amazing. It's amazing. They're meditating.
Have you tried that?
No, I haven't.
Maybe no.
But I've done long meditation retreats, a solitude. I've done a Vipassana retreat where you're on the cushion 10 hours a day.
Really?
Focusing on your breath. So those people are I think it's incredible. If you could develop that kind of patience, it's beautiful. And it's funny, it's because of the YouTube trend. So it doesn't wear any of the clothes of, because it's funny, right? It doesn't wear any of the clothes of a spiritual act.
But they call it raw dogging.
Act. They call it raw dogging.
Raw dogging on a plane.
They call it raw dogging. And it's amazing because how much of the stuff I'm doing on a plane am I just distracting myself?
Yeah.
Because I can't be here. Blaise Pascal said all of mankind's problems stem from the fact that he cannot sit quietly alone in a room. You go on one of these retreats, you find out actually doing nothing is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, if we knew how to do nothing, I believe that would solve a lot or relieve a lot of suffering.
I struggle a lot with absolute silence, because if I'm too quiet and there's nothing going on, then my mind just races. And I'm thinking about every possible problem that I could solve, all the different iterations, different possible scenarios. Like if I do this and this can happen, if I think of it this way, then I can think of it this way. Reframing arguments to see like multiple angles, multiple sides. You can take one problem and you can think about it for 10 hours, but I'm constantly thinking. It's actually exhausting.
Yeah, you're not resting.
I actually don't sleep very much.
Yeah,
I
it
sleep
doesn't
an
surprise
average
me.
of 4 hours a day. I think I average 5 hours over the last 6 years. Because if I try to sleep and get full 8 hours, it means I have to lay in bed when I'm not fully ready to sleep yet. And that 10 or 15 or 30 minutes or an hour drives me crazy because my mind just races. So I wait until I'm so tired that as soon as I put my head down, I fall asleep. This is like the way I protect that, that mind running. I don't know how to like just sit still and be quiet. I don't know if maybe meditating would be good or if that's make it worse. You know what I mean?
Well, it would definitely make it better, for sure. For sure. So, yeah, we can do something right now.
Okay.
I'll teach you some. We'll do a version of Vipassana meditation. I love Vipassana because there's no there's no faith involved in it. It's a technique. Like working out is this is a technique, but instead of being for your biceps, for your mind. So all it involves is observing what's there. So there's no visualization, there's no praying, it's just a thing. So this is why I love this flavor of meditation. It's not the one I use every day, but it's a beautiful practice. In some ways it's dry because it's just there. You're not visualizing light coming down or this thing, right? But that's sort of its beauty is in its like economy. So we can do a minute or two of that. But then I would really challenge you to consider going to a Vipassana retreat. They're going to take your phone. It's 10 days long. You're going to live like a monk for 10 days. You're going to be separated. The men and women are separated, so you're not distracted. And you're not going to talk to another human. Except for the teacher. If you have questions, you can speak to the teacher. But the other participants who are like you, there's no goofing around or talk. You don't even make
I'm
eye
like
contact.
Physically getting antsy just thinking about that.
That's why you need to go. That's why you need to go. So
just that thought of it, I'm like nervous. My whole body, I can feel it tensing up. That's why you need to go. And then you're going to sit and they're going to teach you how to do this. And it's going to be really hard. But you're going to keep doing it. And eventually you will overcome this. And you will gain a superpower, which is how to turn this mind off of all problems. Because it never stops popping up, but we can develop a muscle to go, I could focus on that, or I could focus on my breath. Or I could focus on the sensation of my step touching the ground right now. That's a muscle. And you can develop that quickly in those 10 days. Here's my favorite part about Vipassana meditation. Guess how much it costs? How much?
$0. It's donation based. It's all over the world. It's an amazing organization. The people there are all there because they got something out of it and they're volunteering. And there's no proselytizing. So you finish the retreat and they go, if you want to donate, it's over there. That's it.
That's it.
That's the only thing they mention about money the whole time. It's a beautiful organization. So let's do 1 minute of it.
Okay. I'm nervous. I can feel my heart racing, just the idea of sitting in some sort of silence.
Yeah. Well, here's another thought for you to consider. There's no such thing as silence. So if you go into the quietest room in the world, you will be amazed by how loud your heart beat, and you can actually hear your own blood flowing. So absolute silence doesn't exist. There's always noise. We're going to do this meditation. You might hear chairs creaking or water, or a car might go by. So noise is not an obstacle for mindfulness. And all you're going to do is breathe, dude. You're doing it anyway. So all you're going to do is, instead of focusing on other stuff, we're going to just focus on your breath and some of your physical sensations. So you ready?
Okay.
Yeah. Uncross your legs.
Okay.
And put your hands face down.
Okay.
So they say on your legs. So they say if this might be placebo. They say if you want to bring more energy, do this. And if you want to ground, do this. So since you got monkey mind, we're gonna do this, right?
I like that,
right?
monkey mind.
And close your eyes. And you're just going to breathe through your nose. Don't change your breath. Just breathe. And even if you have thoughts coming in, that's part of the deal. Having thoughts is part of meditation. And as you breathe through your nose, I want you to find a place either on your upper lip, like where a mustache would be, or on the inside of your nostrils, or on the rims of your nostrils where you can feel the air going in and out. In and out. And just focus on that sensation. Again, if thoughts creep in, just gently refocus on the sensation of the air going in and out. can gently blink your eyes open. No rush. So we practice Vipassana meditation right now for about 30 seconds. But as you do that, usually you meditate 20 minutes. On the retreat, you do it for an hour or 2 hours. You can imagine that deepening. And it's a deep process. And I believe actually brings closer to God because you're getting the mind out of the way. And tell me what you experienced.
So, I feel calmer. I feel my mind racing less. I'm also interviewing Mike Posner, so I'm still like my mind is still kind of racing.
Yeah,
it's like
the cameras are on.
The setting, the cameras are on.
Yeah.
I think my mind's like either it's built this way or it's broken.
Definitely not.
Because I'm thinking, okay, there's a house over there. I wonder what they do over there. And then I heard the plane, and I'm thinking, I wonder where they're going. I wonder if there's an airport around here. Like, is it close? Can you fly a plane near here? Like, my mind just...
Yeah.
Even when I'm trying to calm it, I take, like, the smallest signal because I can see a house kind of all the way in the distance over your shoulder, and I've known it's there. And as soon as I calm down, I'm focusing on something else. And I'm trying to figure out, how do I not do that?
Well, this is how you not... First of all, you're not broken at all. You have
I'm trying not to think about it, and I'm thinking about it.
You have a healthy, creative mind. This is what minds are for. They're to create. They're also to scan for problems and keep us alive. So your mind works perfect. They're not designed to make us happy or calm, right? They're designed to keep us alive. So the way you can calm the mind is what we just did, but we did it for 30 seconds, right? So it's like, if I do 3 bicep curls, I'm like, where's my big guns? You'd go, dude, you need to put some more work in, right? So this is a daily practice, right? So I just wanted to do a little minute with you or 30 seconds with you. But if you go on that retreat, you will discover a calm that you won't believe. You will break through that mind. And it's not breaking through, it's going, who am I if I'm not my thoughts? I don't think we're our minds. I'd love to hear your take on that. But my mind is like, it does the same thing, right? Like what you described it's most people's experience of life. And the thoughts that pop into this head are often not who I am. They're often negative. Sometimes they're violent occasionally. Like, I want to hit this person. I don't do it. But I'm not going to lie and say I never have a thought like that, because I do. Sometimes they're really like primal. You know, it's like you see a woman walk by. You know, it's like going to wild sexual fantasies. You know, and this, I'm comfortable saying that because it's everyone's experience of having a mind. But I don't think a lot of these thoughts are me at all. You know, so I'm curating which thoughts to listen to, which not. And also, I think who I really am is the observer of the thoughts. So if I can observe what thoughts are going in and out, it's this pure consciousness, this open space where thoughts arise, where bodily sensations arise and go, where emotions arise and go. And it's an expanded sense of self.
I think.
Do you think we're our minds?
Well, there was a time, because in my mind always, I'm like, I'm just this random guy from the corner of Georgia. One day started talking to camera and like, look at where I am. This is amazing. And for the first, I'm going to say 6 months a year, or about 6 months, every day I'm like, why? What am I doing in this position? Why do I have the ability to even have conversations with people like you? Like, what is the purpose? Is there a plan? Is there a God's plan? I'm like, what am I doing in this world that somehow I'm like just dropped in the middle of it?
Mm-hmm.
And I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out because, again, that's how my mind works. I got to figure out these are all the possible scenarios, there's situations. This is what the plan is. No, this is what the plan is. Actually, here's a glimpse of the plan. Maybe you got to iterate to make the plan better. Always. And I made a conscious choice that for me to think that I'm going to figure out what God's plan for me is kind of ridiculous and actually really proud. We live in a 3D world, and I'm trying to figure out a 5D problem. It's actually not even possible. So I let that go completely. And every day I wake up in the morning and I pray and I say, God, what do you want me to do today? And that's what I do. I've taken all of that other thought out of it. You see, I don't even show up with notes. Never.
It's amazing.
Before I go into any recording, before I even talk in front of a camera, or I go live or go talk in front of people, say a prayer and I go. That's it. There's zero preparation on my behalf because I feel like that's the most honest and genuine way to do it. And
yeah, it's been great. This conversation's been great, just by the way.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But that's just how I approach everything now. Zero plan. Oh, there's a plan because my mind's always naturally thinking of plans. So I don't actually have a plan. The plan is that I'm just going to do because I have to counteract what my natural inclination is, which is to strategize everything. Every morning. God, what do you want me to do today? Great. That's what I'm doing.
What do you say today?
Just do. Just go and be honest and have a conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be amazing. And it's been amazing.
It has.
I feel like I learned so much. And that's why I love what I do, because I take every conversation and every meeting and every interaction, and it helps reframe my mind and see the world in a larger way. And then I'm able to, the next conversation I'll have, I'm like, hey, I just learned about this breathing technique, and then I'm going to do it, and I'm going to pass that on.
Yeah.
And it gives me the ability to. That's also why I don't prepare questions in advance. Because if you know what questions you're going to ask, by the progression of the questions, I already know what the answers are going to be.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm setting up the next question.
Because I got to talk about stuff that I don't
normally talk about.
Yeah, and I have to do my. I was talking with Jason about that earlier. It's like I'm sick of using my talk tracks.
Yes.
It's like, tell me the walk story of the snake bite. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna tell that the same way because that's the best way. It's the most honest way I can reflect that. But it's like I've said that 100 times. I almost feel like I'm doing a song at a concert.
Yeah.
So it's been
feels
cool
performative.
in some ways, yeah. Even if it's true, it's not creative. Or there's something beautiful about allowing a new thought to come through and saying it. Same way, yeah, writing a new song is really awesome, right? And we started off talking about affirmations or incantations. Those stay fresh when you create them new, and you say the same one for a month or 2 months. It's like, what if I say I'm generosity today instead of faith? Anyway, so, yeah.
As you a couple more things I want to touch real quickly. I saw that you're doing a Zoom meditation. What is that?
Oh, we do a community call.
Yeah.
Try to do them every week. Sometimes they've been a little further spaced apart. But just where we share some of these things. Like we talked about, where 2 or more gather in my name. So it's a space for people who just want to get in touch with what really matters. So we lead just some simple breath work, some visualization, some incantations, affirmations to get people feeling good. And then I just take questions. If people have things they're dealing with, they can talk to me, and hopefully other people watching will get something from that interaction. If I got a tool that can help them, I'll give it to them. And if I don't, we just pray for them, or we send them good energy. Everyone does. So that's our calls pretty much, man. And they're amazing and powerful and deep. And I love doing them, yeah.
What do you think the most common problem or concern that people have today are?
You know, my research is limited. And since we've been doing these calls, they've been all over the place for people who, you know, haven't forgiven their brother for something that he did when he was 12 years old, to somebody who's struggling to stop smoking weed, to somebody who is going through a divorce and now is a single mom and has no time for herself. And so it's run the gamut. But I think what people are always looking for is a feeling of agency, meaning a way that I can take control over my own life. So it's a lot of what we talked about today. And what are the practices I can do? What are the thoughts I can think? What are the ways I can use my body? What are the ways I can take care of my body to where I'm not being blown around by my life, but I'm actually creating my life. And I'm in control of my internal state, no matter what my external circumstances are. So those are the tools we focus on. And everyone wants some, even if they're in some really dark thing, I'm not going to solve that for them in a 20-minute Zoom, but I can give them tools, or we can give them tools to where they have more agency inside of that conundrum, where they're like a little bit, they either create a vision of the future that they're excited about, right? We talked about that earlier when I was going back to the walk. If someone's going through a really tough thing, even if it's a thing I've never gone through, I know they still need a vision of the future that they're inspired about. So, you know, I was speaking with the woman who was going through a divorce, a single mom. Obviously, I what do I know about that? But I know when she was telling her story, as I listened, there was no hope in it. So I said, I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to take another question. But in the meantime, I want you to fill up 2 notebook pages about your future that excites you in 5 years. Everybody needs that. So, you know, these are examples of, that was a way for her to have agency. To go, oh yeah, all this stuff, it still sucks, but there's something I'm working towards. And so that's it. Tools of agency.
I heard on a previous interview that you did, that you said, if you get stuck in a conversation or you're trying to figure out where to go next, the best question to ask is, if I could pray for you, what should I pray for? I love that. That was...
Yeah. Kevin Deegan taught me that, my friend Kevin.
That's amazing.
He was kind of like... He was teaching me all these things about listening. He's a hospice chaplain. He goes... He told me 2 hours. He goes, and if none of that works, ask that question.
Yeah. All right, then, Mike, I'm going to ask you. If I could pray for you, what would I pray for?
Pray for my family, and just that they're all healthy and happy and peaceful and safe. And pray for me as I'm in a chapter of expansion. Pray for serenity inside the expansion.
Mike, thank you for your time. Thank you for inviting me to your home. It's been amazing to get to know you. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah, if I pray for you, what should I pray for?
Every day I pray for wisdom and discernment. How do I know that the ideas in my mind and what I'm doing are mine versus what God wants me to do? And every day I try to do what I think I'm supposed to do versus what I personally want to do. And trying to figure out and hear that difference is what I pray for every day. So if you could pray for anything for me, it's to have that clarity.
Wisdom and discernment. Thank you, man.
Mike, I appreciate you.
God bless you, man.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you, everybody.
Peace.